Good old-fashioned moral outrage. Where does it come from? What are things that trigger us to get so frustrated or scared or excited or woke or whatever? What triggers us to take stands on certain things or to fear other things? If you want to learn more about that, stay tuned to Mysteries. I am Mystery, and we are exploring all things mysterious in the world of psychology. This is a little different episode. I challenged my producer, a bear, to go ahead and give me a topic and for me to just go with it. He's giving me some freedom here to kind of ad lib and explore my space. Let's just say the first warning he gave me was, Eric, please don't swear. Okay, so I am going to try to harness my energy. I'm going to try to harness my self-righteousness, which my wife says that I do come across as a bit know-it-all-ish at times. And she's right, because I do know it all. No, I'm just kidding. But we're going to talk a little bit about something called availability heuristic. So availability heuristic it's actually a memory technique, and it's a bit of a failure in our memories, and it's to no fault of our memory. If we're aware of it, it will help us out a lot. Again, this is to bring awareness to some of our issues in psychology. So the availability heuristic is our tendency to remember what is most available, what is most present in our memory. And in recent episodes, we talked about recency effect, where the thing that we last saw, that's the thing that we're going to remember the most, right? But availability heuristic is a little bit different. I'll give you for instance. In the early 2000s, post 9/11, we had a lot of people that were obviously quite afraid to fly. Why were we quite afraid to fly? Because we had the visualization of these planes crashing into the World Trade Centers, into the Pentagon, and into the field in Pennsylvania. And that is what was most readily available in our heads, right? That's what we saw in the news all the time. That's what we thought could happen. But we didn't take into consideration that there were much more greater chances that we were going to become injured or die in a car crash. And these things happen all the time. And so much of this is dictated by media and social media, where we have the latest trends of moral outrage, the latest trends of fear mongering, those types of things. I'm trying to come up with these on the spot without becoming, too animated. So here it goes. We have like a moment a couple weeks ago where we have this outrage about these drones that were flying out near New Jersey. And everybody's talking about how, is the government spying on us? Is there some sort of nuclear warhead issue? Is this China? Whatever was available in our media feed, that's what occupied us. Now, nobody said anything about that for the last 2 weeks, or the last month, now that when you're hearing this, yet it was readily available to all of our memories for about a week. And people went down these rabbit holes with this fear and that sort of thing, and now it's gone because we're on to the next thing that is readily available to our mind. So that would be an example of availability heuristic. So here we have this fear of being spied on by these drones. Yet 22 years ago, we had the Patriot Act that was created to give our government the right without warrant to invade on people's privacy if they just felt like there was a need. So we have this outrage to one entity because it's so readily available to us. But yet the thing that invades many of our lives every day via smartphones and access that various entities have that in tracking our information, we have no fear about. We don't even talk about it, whatever, because it's not available to our mind. It's not available to our memory. But those darn drones out in New Jersey, those really grab our attention, right? Okay. And who knows, maybe we're justified in fearing that, but we're too distracted and we're ready to move on to the next thing, right? So that would be one example, or a second example of availability heuristic. Um, there have been boycotts, so many boycotts, and of people talking about woke culture and that sort of thing. And I remember there was a boycott on a certain streaming agency because of a movie that they were showing, and this movie was definitely controversial. You obviously, if you have a Netflix membership, you can choose to watch it or choose not to watch it, but then all of a sudden in social media, there was this massive movement that people were going to cancel their Netflix memberships because, and it was all about the sexualization of girls. Okay, you might be justified in this one show that sexualizes girls, yet we have programming on virtually every network every day that does the same thing. Shows that have been on for 10 years that have done the same thing, but it's not readily available to memory. And nobody says or does anything about it because it's just not there. But if you take the time to logically process that information and to think about it, you realize that, okay, it's not really about this show. It's about society as a whole. But whatever pops into our head, whatever is most memorable, those are the things that we just hone in on. And those are the things that we completely focus all of our attention on. And so if there's advice that I could give, it's to dig deep, to really explore your memory, explore your good, healthy resources, explore what's happening both in society and in culture, etc. And don't latch on to those emotional pieces that drive fear or that drive anger or that drive contempt, but it's really to focus on the big picture and what really is the biggest stories that we may not necessarily have access to. I think that's so incredibly important because I always tell my students, we have a new phone policy that I've been running for quite a few years now, but we just started it as a whole school. And I asked my students, do you like to be told what to do? And they all said no. They all said no. And I said, so you don't like to be told to put your phone in a slot on the wall? No. And then I say, do you like your phone telling you what to do? And they looked at me, they're like, what? I'm like, I'm having you put your phone away so your phone's not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you to put your phone away. And they're like, so when we're driven by these news sources and this media and social media, making these stories readily available to us, what they're doing is they're trying to dictate us. They're trying to tell us what to do. And it's really fearful. It's like being puppets on a string, and we're driven by this because we're not exploring our own intellectually curious space. So I highly recommend that you check it out. Now, just to remind you, I was put on the spot here for this one. So this kind of was a little bit of a free flow. So if it did come across as self-righteous or condescending or narrow-minded or whatever, I'll apologize for that, but it is a topic that I think is incredibly, incredibly important. And it is something to just be really, really aware of as we explore this newer world of social media and of mass media that's controlled by about 6 different major organizations that we aren't controlled by other people and what we're supposed to hang on to and believe to, that we're supposed to believe in, and just continue to explore that. So just a few thoughts on that. I thought, hey, let's go ahead and try something new. Put me on the spot and let's see what I can come up with. And I had a lot of fun doing this one. So I'm Mr. E. This is Mysteries Mysteries. A big thank you to Unify Agency. If you have a question that you want me to explore, please feel free to drop me a comment anywhere on Insta or on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple, etc. And I would love to answer those questions. I would love to do a podcast on it. So thank you all. You have a great day. See ya.